Hello, 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 what up?
Yo, yo.
Howdy, hey, howdy, hey, howdy, hey, howdy, hey.
And maybe a hidey ho.
Hold on, wait a second. I'm just still adjusting the stream thing here. Stream feed. Okay, good. Hello, what up? How's everyone doing? What up, Noah? Hello, Susie, Otto. Thanks for sticking around. 14th month sub anniversary. Holy crap, I didn't think it'd be that long.
Yo, congrats on that, DK.
Dang. Well, no, for Noah. We got to do something for Noah.
No, not just that, but I didn't realize you were streaming for this long.
Yeah, I guess that's true. 14 months. I didn't know I was
Yo,
streaming for that
Noah.
long either.
Thank you for the reminder on that.
Nice. 14 months.
Damn, I need to get better.
Damn. Cool. Well, there's a lot more streams coming. We've got a lot planned for this year. We're really excited about. So,
Bryson's new place. So we're planning on basically doing 2 4-foot by 6-foot tall gobos for the back because we can't do anything on his back wall. Yeah, we're talking about a mutual friend of ours. His name's Sean Bryson, really cool guy. He is actually the designer. Is that your favorite Hashira? No, it is not my favorite Hashira, but she's awesome. But he actually designed what was our Studio A computer. It's actually my personal computer. But he creates like the mammoth computers for studios, like everybody from like Ken Lewis, Bob Horn, TZO, Mixed by Lee. Everybody uses their computers.
Lu.
No, not me. Don't throw me in there. I do not have 27 Grammys. I don't know which one of those engineers does, but I assume one of them. But no, I'm helping him design his studio. Or not design, better yet say like properly acoustically treat it as best as we can within a rental property, because I'm sure you guys know how that goes, trying to minimize the amount of destruction in the room while maximizing the efficiency of the sound in the room, but also the style. I mean, look at this. This is like an older picture. This is not a final picture, but yeah, color's definitely off on it, but it's awesome. It's awesome.
anyway, welcome to the stream. We're trying to get more people in here. I might go live on Instagram again. Give me a second. I've been live already for a few hours, a couple hours this morning, so I may not have as big as we only need to do like 2.
I mean, that's fine either way.
Cool.
Oh yeah. But check this out. This is how massive the other one is. it's the staircase, the walkway, and half a window.
Hello. What up, Robin?
Robin. Can we get an episode about what they don't teach you in college/audio program? Oh yeah, anything.
That's a good one. That's a good
yeah.
one.
Yeah, anything that has to do with the actual work. The technical work they'll teach you about, but
Oh, hold on. Let me turn down the music.
work.
I think the music is too loud.
I just got an adjunct position, and I need some ideas of what isn't typically taught, but it'd be useful to students.
Is over.
Oh, totally.
Hardest
And
things is over.
congratulations on the new job, Noah.
Oh, did you hit me on WhatsApp? Uh-oh. Sorry, Robin. I must have missed it.
Robin.
My phone died, and I had to get a new one. So I must have missed your WhatsApp.
Oh shit! And I forgot to
My
bring
phone
the charger.
like totally just got destroyed. Hold on one second. I'm looking it up right now.
And I actually forgot. I do have a case, and I forgot to bring it today.
Is it just for the regular 11?
Yeah. Wait, why? Do you have like a special 11?
No. No, it's just the regular 11. But there's like the 11 plus. Hold on one second.
Yeah, because that's the square body, right?
Yeah. How do I do this? So I go to menu, settings, scan, continue, link device. Okay.
Damn, I didn't realize WhatsApp was that in deep.
All right. All right, we're back. Sorry, I had to do that. Oh, this is just 20 minutes ago. Oh, my bad. Okay, I should have had it. I'll reply. Hold on. What's your like over the next week or so? What would it be for a 6-hour session? So I think August 1st. Do we have anything on August 1st?
I just got a request for that as well.
So let's do this.
It's kind of tentative, depending, because it's the client
if you book it first.
Yeah, if you book it first, then it's yours.
I'm gonna actually, Robin. I'm gonna make you. If you want to book a recording session, then I think the best way to do it is through the website. To be honest.
Yeah.
Mixing. Oh no, nope, wrong one.
Unless it's a specific time frame that you need, then hit us
we
up.
should not say this live. All right.
Robin, we shall hit you back in messages.
I'm a dumbass. I'm so sorry. I think that's it. I think that's the right one. Yeah. You have the studio phone?
It's actually at my office right now.
Do we want to go grab it right now before we start?
We can. Wait, does this have to do with locking it in? Because I can lock it in without it.
No. I mean, like, just to have it on you just in case someone calls or something.
I mean, sure.
Hello, greetings, man. How a follower of yours can send some mixes so you can give feedback. I would love to see how improvement in making. Huge shout out from Peru. What up? Welcome from Peru. Friday mornings. We do mix feedback Fridays on Friday mornings. The hardest thing is I overdo all the mixing and end up sharp vocals in the mix. What should I do? Mix less.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how much more you can get done by doing less.
Yeah, so if you're doing too much, then do less.
Yeah.
But hold on. He says that we don't have an availability on August 1st.
Who says?
Gotta try to book. Oh, we have the.
I'm telling you, the website's limited, so
it's
just
two. We have one
directly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna text you.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about on the website, where the confusion exists. For a 6-hour session, we do have a prime time spot, though.
Hold on, give me a second. Let's figure this out.
Technically, that's accurate if you look at the calendar. Unless we move out Donisha. That's the only other slot we have available.
Oh, is that a Monday?
Yeah, it's Monday. I guess it was time.
What's the Neumann mic that we have?
We have a TLM 67, Eden C800G. We have the R84, which would be a great vocal mic if they're looking to combine it with something else. And that's about it.
We have more, but I think those are the main ones.
Those are the main ones. Yeah, we have like SM7Bs, the 208s, and all that.
No, we're not in Canada. We're in LA, J Stud. So I'm not really looking at Instagram. My bad. Let me make this slightly darker. Okay. Hello, DK and Lou. Hi, Machi.
Hey, Machi, if you're at the studio, Why don't you send me a text? I might need you to run the phone to me.
Yeah, dude, can you go grab the studio phone and bring it to my house?
Yeah.
See if we play?
It's literally on my desk at the studio.
All right, but let's get started.
Obscure
you said
Asian.
the episode idea is for things that
schools don't teach about the real world. Things that the school, college, and other institutionalized education systems do not teach.
Should we write some things down before we just start spitballing?
I mean, we can.
What are some things that they don't teach?
How to love. Question it as much as you want, but they
Lou,
don't.
Oh, real quick, read this.
Sure.
This is one of my dudes, so.
Yeah, no, that's why. If it's your people,
if you can do me a solid, yeah.
Yeah. For standard timing or what time?
Just anytime before 8 p.m. Just anytime before 8 p.m.
Okay.
But he's saying that he'll find out by. He's saying he'll find out by tomorrow. Or tonight because it's a.m. his time.
I mean, just fill me in, you know.
Yeah, I will. Cool. All right. Studio etiquette. Oh yeah. Well, they kind of teach you that in school, kind of.
A little bit, but you can't really learn that in school. So is it communicated or is it taught? Because you can't learn it without it experiencing it.
Yeah, that's more of an internship thing.
Yeah, it really is.
So I think that's a great idea.
Communication is not taught. How to set expectations and boundaries in a session, whether it's about setting expectations of the session or of services offered and rendered.
Business in general.
No, there's business classes and there's marketing classes.
They suck though, and they're not really
not
real
at
well.
SAE.
They're like
SAEs were
freelance.
solid.
They're freelance.
Yeah.
They're like for freelancers. Like what they teach, like how to set
like
up
they
an
were
LLC.
teaching. Yeah, they taught you how to actually run your own business, how to handle payroll and everything.
Okay, so finances and LLC establishment.
Yep.
They taught you about.
They
articles
taught you
of
about
organization?
minor marketing. Like,
should we talk about that? Noah, should we add that to the list? Do they teach that in your school?
Yeah, do they teach it at yours? Because remember, I did a lot of research before choosing my school. Not everybody does that, and they just choose whatever school says
I think
music.
business. Mine didn't teach me that much. It tried to, but it was more like theory, and it was more like.
So my campus.
It wasn't like as a freelancer.
My campus was the only one that didn't offer bachelors. So like you had to study up on things. Like you could transfer credits from any school to SAE.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit more.
How do you know that it's too loud?
I'm just looking at the meters. I'm just literally.
You just got used to like where the meter generally sits.
That he said that's amazing, but I didn't get any of that. Yeah, business, freelance, that would include finance. We're going to talk about it because I don't think most people that go to like a traditional school.
No, most schools didn't offer it. MI doesn't offer it. And MI was one of the bigger ones that I was considering because like everybody knows about MI. But the biggest issue about MI was like once I got there, I was like, oh, it's clearly an entertainment style college. Like the admissions day where like you get to see the school, do tours, all that kind of stuff. It was a complete showboat kind of day. I was like, dude, at no point did you guys talk about anything that had to do with the education.
What else do they not talk about in school?
Managing your own personal life versus work. They just tell you to work all the time and take every gig that you can, but they don't actually teach you what that actually means. A lot of it really has to do with the culture. A lot of like if you wanted to know what a school won't teach you, it's the culture. Anything that surrounds the culture of running a business in this industry. So you're right, like they won't teach you how to market, they won't teach you how to reach out to artists or how to communicate and things like that.
Other careers.
Yeah, they'll teach you the technical aspects, but they won't teach you.
Oh, yeah. They may not teach you that. Like, for example, if you're doing like an audio engineering track, like that is so applicable to like 20 things. I think we did an episode about like jobs within the audio world.
You could be a video game music composer and nobody will ever talk about, there's a job opening for it.
Foley artist, sound editor. There's so many different jobs.
And like, it's funny because a lot of people think that jobs in the audio industry are like non-listed jobs, but a lot of them are extremely listed.
Yeah, that's true. If you go to a school of music, I'm gonna type in performer versus engineer producer.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a school of music, they're mostly gonna teach you about like touring and performing and things of that nature. They're not gonna teach you about how to be behind the scenes in the studio, how that works. Very little about that sort of stuff. So I think that's a good idea.
I'm gonna go get Matthew.
Sweet. What other things do they not teach in school? In your school, Noah? This is actually really good.
How to, I think one of them, what was it? SAE did not teach. This used to bother me a lot. I'm gonna remember.
I wrote down taxes as part of like finances.
No, this one had to do with the actual studio culture. But it was mainly about like switch offs and file transfers. Oh, file management between clients and providers.
Okay, file management and live audio. I think that's more specific to your school because mine taught some live audio. File management in general. Oh my gosh. Modern recording techniques. Modern techniques of any kind.
Once again, depends on the set of teachers you have.
Yeah, but most like I feel like okay in your special scenario that's a little bit different. But in my scenario, why is it not focusing? Hello.
Are we too far away?
No, it's good.
I mean,
but it's in my school. I mean, I hate to say it, but
wasn't it orchestral?
It's teachers that are 20 years out of the game that are teaching concepts from an industry that's rapidly changing and changes every single day. So it's like one of those things. It's like if you are a teacher, even if you are actively working, there's only so much active work and learning that you can do on the job. So that is the thing. Like modern techniques, I think is hard to find. For example, like nobody ever taught me like the track and playlist. We always tracked in the same. Like you didn't do
track.
You didn't like swipe up or whatever. So like modern techniques, I think that's more like some teachers are really really great and keep up with it. I would argue that most people don't because it's. You do, I hate to say it, but I feel like people do get less hungry when there's a paycheck that they get to go home to every single night, and there's less pressure to continue to learn things.
Yeah. No.
The struggle, we can talk about the struggle. They don't really, the struggle and, for example, like the success rate.
See, I'm not going to lie. I actually, the more we talk about this, the more I appreciate the school I went to because every campus is also different. Just because you went to one school versus another, like, worry about your campus. You know, you hear this about Berkeley. Like, I hear Berkeley students be like, which campus did you go to? Oh, yeah, that one sucks. You know, but.
Wait, they didn't even give you an associate for yours?
Dude, we're both in the same boat of completion.
But if you had finished, they wouldn't have given you
my
so
campus.
No,
my campus was literally the only one that didn't even offer a bachelor's.
Cool.
But because of that, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to spend like 20 plus grand on an education that everybody tells me is not necessary, I literally went in choosing out like which teachers am I going to be dealing with. Like,
I'll be the youngest by 25 years at the school I'll be working at. The head of the music department thinks that the careers in audio consist of studio engineers, live engineers, and AV installation jobs. That's it?
not the only jobs available, but they are some of the most profitable ones.
Well, and also like the least available.
Actually, the AV jobs?
Live engineers and AV, yeah, but not studio engineers. Studio engineers is really hard to get, like staff studio engineering.
Oh,
I think
I
got the only got the job because I told him. So yeah, so I think our experiences are different because I did a school of music thing. I went to school for 5 years actually, and I dropped out right before I got my bachelor's. And I would have gotten a bachelor's if I stuck around for like 1 or 2 semesters. So that is a little bit different. And school of music. So it would have been a Bachelor's of Fine Arts, BFA. And I will finish someday. I'll finish my school someday. I think I will. But that's more for like completionist in me. Do I regret quitting? Not yet. And I hope to continue to make life choices that doesn't make me regret it. And neither am I trying to be a teacher. In fact, I kind of am grateful that I didn't finish because I'm not allowed to teach at other schools and fall back on that. So it's like it's forcing me to have to stay in it, which is pushing me to be more. Not saying that like teaching is a really, really, really great job, but it's not for me. And if I did that, I knew that I'd become complacent, myself personally, and I wouldn't say that for everybody else.
I'll be honest. I think I'd actually love a teaching job.
Yeah, I would have had a BA in commercial music, and it would have been basically a jazz degree as well. But I'm not even a jazz. It would be for singing. I would be a contemporary singer. Commercial music degree, and that would have been BS, and it wouldn't really done much other than allow me to teach at other schools because I have a degree. Yeah, so I went to school for 5 years.
Yeah,
5 years straight. That was annoying, and it was fun though. It was fun. So let's see what else. I think some other should we go into like generic things like reading? Like reading and continued learning. Application.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. There was a math class in my school, and that wasn't part of like general education. It was literally math about like how audio works, and the math behind it.
Oh, that's the class. So it was for us. It was like physics 171, which was like acoustics.
Yeah, and you actually had to calculate the time, the resonance, and everything.
And that's the one that I never went. I think I went like 3 times during the semester.
I'm not gonna lie.
That class.
That was my favorite class. Like even in high school, physics was my favorite class.
That was probably the one I think I went 3 times and still aced that shit. It was great. I went the 3 times that I went was BYU has like the second largest anechoic chamber in the world. So,
that's the one where you're like, oh yeah, I heard my heart.
Yeah, that's the weird one. So that's I went that day to that class. I think like a general application of things that you study. So like for example, in a single semester, we really only worked on like 12 songs.
Yeah.
But 12 songs in 3 months is not enough experience to actually. So practical application I think is missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is from an internship, right?
You know, there was one thing that my school did have us do, which was they gave us the entire year's worth of work in advance, right? Like you knew what you had to turn in by the end of the year. So if you wanted to knock it out in 1 month, you could.
Yeah, that's very not traditional.
But here's kind of the cool thing about it. It was a lot of fucking work. It was a lot. So it was very realistic as far as like expectations of how much work you need to be doing. Because one of the things that one of my favorite teachers at the school would talk about is like, how many albums do you think people need to record a year? Like if you have one good client that books you for like 5 days a week to work on his album, that album's not going to last a whole year. So you have to have a lot of work going on to make a successful living in it. If that's the case, then we're going to load you up with work to match the amount of work you should be used to doing.
I'm going to do another one. I think your school definitely would have done good with this. Some schools don't, especially if we're going to start recording soon, but especially if it's a music school like mine in Utah or like in any other place, and they're not really engineers or producers, is networking within your industry outside of your city.
Yeah.
So, for example, I wish my teachers would have pushed us more to work and intern for other people, go out to LA and talk to.
So
I mean,
there was one thing my school did,
or at least had connections.
I don't know if your school did this, but my school did one thing that did help with that a little bit. So on its website, you could apply for a free recording session with the students. Did your school ever do anything like that?
Apply for what?
So my school, on its website, you could choose the campus and you can say, hey, I'd like to apply for a free recording session with one of the students at the campus. And it would basically say, in exchange for this, one, they are a student. You cannot complain or make any kind of financial demands or blah, 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 or any damages due to deadlines or anything like that. On top of that, the masters are owned by the school. But we will grant you free recording time, free engineering, and all that stuff. And the student can use it for their classes, for their projects, this and that, which was actually really cool because they also had to upload a demo. So you could hand select which random person from the public has applied to the school for free recording time. And you could actually say like, yo, I really like this rapper. I want to record him for my next school project.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's briefly talk about our schools, because I think the schools are very, very different. And I think we overlap I think both of us together overlap most schooling systems. But anyway, can you think of any projects to assign students to help them understand what a career like is in this field? I don't know what the internship resources are in the school, but I have my doubts. Yeah, I would genuinely think that the assignment should be more like a report or something of all the career paths available in a brief description, or maybe even doing like a full like Tim Ferriss type thing where you assign everybody to go talk to one person that has a career that they want to do. Like if they're into video games, then like go talk to a video game composer or like a video game sound designer or something like that. And I think it should be, this is a Tim Ferriss thing, make it competitive. The person who gets the craziest interview with the most legit person, like the most well-known person, gets extra credit or something like that, like $100 cash, like sacrifice your own money. That's what Tim Ferriss would do. Like he'd be like, go interview entrepreneurs, and whoever gets the craziest interview wins something.
But wouldn't that make the project kind of null and void in the idea of like quality interview
No,
versus...
but it forces it motivates the students to try to not just find a video game composer, but the best video game composer in the industry. So it's like people that they think are unreachable, and you try harder for a higher level. So I think that's a really good idea. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Let's start the episode.
Sure.
So let's briefly describe. Well, I'll narrate us. We'll make this pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this more than 30 minutes if possible. Okay, I'm gonna record.
I think with enough things that if you wrote down, it's gonna be more.
I think we can keep it short. Is it recording? Yeah, it says it's recording. Hopefully, it's recording.
It says it is.
Okay. What they don't teach you in music school. Take one. Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host, DK, and with me, as always, is Ludwig Lu.
I'm not gonna lie, Ludwig's kind of a nice, classy name.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
I've been studying a lot of YouTubers and building a lot of case studies, and Ludwig is the one that I've been studying the most recently.
Who the hell is Ludwig?
He's a streamer and a YouTuber. He got signed to YouTube, so he's not allowed to stream on Twitch anymore. And I think he still holds the record for the most amount of Twitch subscribers ever, because he did a 31-day subathon. So he was live streaming for 31 days straight, and he's famous for that. Makes a bunch of content on YouTube now.
What caused him to go 31 days straight? Like, what was the criteria?
Every time someone subbed or donated money, it would increase the timer.
By how much?
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
31 days. Like, if it was small amounts, like let's say 5 minutes, that's a lot.
But also, I think people thought of the drum kit when I said Ludwig too. So I'm just saying that is probably the YouTuber streamer that I was thinking about when I said that. But let's get into today's episode. Is very, very important, and I think very, very good. We were brainstorming for a while, live on stream here. We are streaming. If you go to Mixing Music Podcast /live, you can go to my Twitch stream, where we're live stream the recording of the podcast every single week. Subscribe to me on YouTube, youtube.com/DKMixes or Mixing Music Podcast /YouTube. Yeah, whatever. There's so many different ways to link.
Just go to mixingmusicpodcast.com.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. That's anyway. So go check it out. Anyway, today's topic, you already read the thumbnail or the title, is what they don't teach you at music school. So I want to briefly touch on what kind of schools that we went to, because Lou and we've talked about schooling many times, and sometimes very heated. Actually, most of the time it got very heated, in a good way. But I'm now recognizing that we went to very different schools. Lou went to more of a trade school that offered a certificate rather than a bachelor's or a associate's.
Yeah.
Where I went to school for 5 years and dropped out after 5 years, on the path like one semester away from a bachelor's for fine arts in music. And so like very different career paths, very different sets of teachers and curriculum. Like, and for example, apparently Lou learned about taxes and how to set up an LLC, which is unfathomable for most music students in regular university. So it's very interesting. Trade school versus university, and I think with both of us together, we're going to be able to talk about, generalize into most music schools, especially for producing and engineering.
Fun fact about that class, it was taught by somebody who owns a Foley studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool.
The person teaching us taxes was an active studio owner, which was really cool about that school.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. We have a list that we kind of brainstormed before we started recording, but number one I wrote down is communication. Lou, do you want to? What kind of a communication did your school not teach you, or just you feel that schools in general don't teach as well?
So schools will often make an emphasis about kind of expectations in our industry as far as what we are expected to do and how we're supposed to perform and blah, blah. But they never actually fully teach you how to execute on said expectations, one of those being communication. They don't really talk about, like, okay, when you actually talk about project starts, like they'll tell you, like, okay, try to make sure you understand what how much money is involved, this and that, blah, blah. But they never actually teach you how to set proper expectations as far as like, hey, what are the deadlines? How do you want to send me the files? How do we actually get an agreement going? Let's say you want 1 point on the masters. They didn't teach about going through song trust and all that kind of stuff. They didn't teach you how to deal with communicating with the lawyer as far as your involvement on projects. There was a lot of communication, like I guess, lack of communication education, when they send you out, you never actually had to practice or do like mock interviews with the client, mock interviews with the label and things like that. They never actually taught you how to actually execute on a verbal level, signing a deal or agreeing to terms with a different production team as an engineer, as a producer, as an artist. They just taught you what those terms might be, but they never taught you how to negotiate. They never taught you how to really open your mouth and communicate.
Yeah, and I think this goes into point number 2, which is about etiquette. Real world etiquette in the studio and in a professional, how communication works in the studio, especially based on like as an intern or anything like that. As an engineer sitting in the chair, how you communicate with celebrities or with the producers in the room. Those type of like actual practical meta communication skills, not just skills, but like practical forms of communication, necessary forms of communication. It's just tough. It's tough to do that because you have to keep it general enough in school. Yeah. I think everything that we talk about, if we talk about any sort of failings that school has, I don't think it's because of teachers or curriculum. I think it's because the failings of having to teach such a general topic to multiple students rather than a one-for-one lesson. So like if you do lessons with me and Lou, we're going to cater that lesson for you and exactly how to do it. We're going to be able to talk about all this stuff.
We don't have to worry about everybody else catching on.
Exactly. Yeah. But with school, you have to generalize a little bit. And I think that's the boon of these schools. So anyway, communicating and in real world practical ways, I think is very difficult. Etiquette, do you want to say anything else about etiquette?
Yeah. DK, do you want to say what the end result of my celebrity training was when we first opened the studio?
End results of like you get fired if you don't follow them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that what you were pushing for?
Pretty much. It's kind of funny because when you're in school, they talk about like the importance of being a professional and communicating and blah, blah, blah. But another thing is, they really don't teach you how to not fan out and how to act, how to move in a session. Like you got hired for your first big session. Let's run through step by step what you should do. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you think, oh crap, I got to make sure everything's perfect, you should have a checklist. You should have this, you should have that. They don't really teach you how to deal with high stakes situations or how to communicate and make, I guess, what would seem like a tougher session a simpler one. They don't teach you about efficiency. With that said, honestly speaking, studio etiquette is something that you have to learn on the spot. It's not something that you can learn in a textbook. It's not something that you can communicate. If I read you a math problem but never showed it to you or never had you do it yourself, you'd never get it. It doesn't matter what you're learning, but etiquette is one of those that have to be done in the wild.
Yeah, and etiquette, there's a t-shirt that I have that I bought that was given to me in NAMM 2020. Mm-hmm. It was like the 10 rules of etiquette for interns.
We did an episode about this.
Yeah, so I want you to, if you're interested in learning more about this, there's an episode of the podcast that's called How Not to Get Fired as an Intern. And that is it's a required listening for anybody that wants to intern at our studio. It's a very good episode about etiquette, so definitely recommend looking into that.
I also recommend taking the Ian Bell path. DK and I only have so many Lou names, and Ian Bell, as part of his interview process, also handed DK a list of Lou names. One of them is my favorite of all time, which is Lou, Wielder of Swords and Lord of the Boards.
There it is.
Yeah, solid. Good interview tactic. Find something funny to put on your resume.
Number 3 is number 3 is a general sense of business. So it seems like Lou and I, this is where we kind of differentiate, and we're going to have varying levels of business. So like Lou had some freelance help because it's a trade school, which would make sense, right?
Yep.
Versus mine had a very different level of business teaching because it was a Bachelor of Fine Arts. It was a BA for music. So it was like they were teaching mostly theory and how to be a performer. They even for people that ended up becoming professional performers. I have a friend that's a professional pianist out in Europe.
Really?
Yeah, like really killer piano player, and he probably wasn't ever taught how to get a manager or find contacts or how to land gigs in Europe in school. But Business in general, we're talking about, especially as a freelancer. So things like how to track your finances and prepare end-of-year reports for your CPA, what a CPA is, and how to get your taxes done, and potentially pay taxes during the year so you don't have to pay it all at the end of the year. How to set up an articles of organization and set up an LLC in your state, and how if you live in California, you should do everything in your fucking power to not set up a business in California. Talk to your cousins, talk to your neighbors, anywhere else. You set up your business anywhere outside of California. You just operate in California, but you do not. Oh my gosh. I am convinced.
Just do sole proprietorship in California.
I'm convinced, like after doing business now in California, I'm convinced that the California Franchise Tax Board is a fucking scam. Like they're a scam. They're scammers. I'm convinced. We've paid everything on time. We've even double paid them ahead of time. And they take our money and say we haven't paid, and we still owe them a late fee, even though we paid
on time.
I am convinced that they're scammers. Like, oh my gosh. Do not set up a business in LA.
Moral of the story?
Don't set up a business in LA. No in LA. Nothing in LA. Don't do it. I'm convinced it's a scam. And California's the only state that does that. California's the only state that has a franchise tax board. This is the most bullshit I've ever.
I wonder if I set up shop in a state that has a no sales tax, if I can abide by that one too.
So LaunchPod Media is technically organized in Delaware. Was it Delaware? I think that's the main
no income
startup.
Tax?
That's no. It's the main startup. So there's the least amount of tax if you sell the business.
Oh.
So it's a lot of people do that for businesses when they tend to sell. So look up city things like that. Anyway, the point is, schools don't teach you things like that.
Nope.
And we could talk about business in that sense, how to do taxes, finances.
On to the next.
Books. Yeah, just general business. The number 4 is like branding, reputation, marketing, and how to continue to build your reputation. This can go into a little bit of marketing or networking as well.
Yeah.
They kind of like, they don't even mention I don't think my teachers even mentioned the importance of building a reputation, and like I think it starts off at like the importance of having integrity and being seen as someone that's trustworthy, good at your job,
which should come by default in your nature.
I think it's common sense. Maybe that's not why it's taught, but like it's common sense, but it's so much more important that I think that there should be a focus of emphasis in that school. Number 5 is culture. Modern culture. For example, this is a classic one. Hip-hop has been the biggest and most highest income genre of music since 2017. Tracked since 2017. My teacher in 2020 was convinced that hip-hop was not worth studying and not really get into, and actually kind of shit-talked hip-hop multiple times over, not just during class, but openly on Facebook as well and different things. That's a very specific example. It's hard. Yeah. Sometimes people get the blinders on. Some teachers get the blinders on because, unfortunately, and this is a thing. I don't think every teacher's like this, and some teachers go out of their way to make sure that this does not happen. But the stereotype, which happens to be true oftentimes, is that teachers have been teaching now for 20 plus years, has been out of the industry for almost a decade or more, out of an industry that changes every single day. Not just techniques, but how labels work and run and operate. Like, for example, TikTok and how labels own Spotify now and do like playlisting thing. That wasn't a thing a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there's no way that you have to like actively keep up with that sort of stuff. Man, it's just annoying. Just make sure that they don't teach you up-to-date culture in school, which is unfortunate. Some teachers are actually still currently working in the field. Like, it sounds like you had a few teachers that were actively working.
Actually, when I chose, so to make it quick, when I chose the school and I interviewed, I literally went to a ton of open houses. I took Anna with me to almost every single one. Ask her how annoying the process was. It was annoying, but I purposely chose my school because everybody there was an active engineer or producer or artist. I remember one of my teachers that I first met was Demi Lovato's personal engineer, and since at the time she was only working at night, he would only teach in the morning. So he actively was doing it, but he also had a family with 3 kids, so he was making sure bills were paid and consistent. And he told everybody, he's like, My plan is to not teach after 5 years. He said, he's like, this isn't my long-term thing. The student aides that were there they weren't full-time teachers, but they were there to be like studio aides and all that kind of stuff, inventory, whatever, blah, blah. They were all also like working for like Aftermath. They were working for Paramount. They were all engineers somewhere, but they just had their time for consistent pay, and they were teaching on the side. And that was what really attracted me to SA. I'm not going to lie. The number one thing that attracted me to that school was that everybody there was active in LA. But that's a much easier find in LA. This is not as easy a find we spoke about Delaware earlier. If you're studying in Delaware, I highly doubt one of your active teachers is an engineer for Aftermath. I highly doubt Demi Lovato is booking them every weekend. Why? Because she's not in fucking Delaware.
Yeah.
I was in Los Angeles. I had an opportunity to learn from people who were active, because it's very easy to stay active as a teacher in Los Angeles.
So the point of this is that just be aware, even if you don't have an actively working industry professor, just be aware that take everything with a grain of salt and understand that if you really like video games, like for example, when we were growing up, we were told that video games were a waste of time and nobody would ever make money from them.
Oh my God. You know how many times it was taken away from me?
That wasn't even like a concept. Like making money from video games wasn't even an argument to be made, because it was just that it was a waste of time. It was just a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Now shut up. Like esports is like the most important and profitable things ever. So like it's just take things with a grain of salt and recognize that if you recognize that there's a movement going on in the culture that you want to move with, then take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, other career paths. For example, this is where I think mine would come in. Mm-hmm. I graduated in commercial music. I would have graduated in a BA with a BA in commercial music. And I had to do theory core, music history. I had to learn opera scores and do like notation and piano, blah, blah, blah. So many things that had nothing to do with what I wanted to do. And that was part of it. And did they ever teach me about there was like 1 or 2 classes. The point of those, and the actually professor did a really good job trying to explore as many different careers within the field as possible. So 1 week we're assigned to do Foley work. Mm-hmm. As homework. 1 week we're assigned to do a film score for like 5 minutes of film. 1 week we're remix a song that already had vocals and guitar and like produce it out. 1 week we're supposed to do like a copy. So like
sounds like you had pretty busy schedule.
Yeah. And 1 week we were supposed to do like a copy. So it's like we were supposed to make a new song that sounded really similar to this song. So we wouldn't get copyright struck.
One professor or the general
this is
professor?
One class. This is one class.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we had to do another one was like a 30-second donut for like a TV or radio commercial, things of that nature. So it was like we explored. Actually, that was one class though, but I think that was a very special situation. I think some schools may not do as good of a job exploring other career paths. Dave Pensato on Pensato's Place talks about this all the time. There are actually so many different careers within the world of audio, and people think that there's not enough jobs in the world of audio, but there are. I was talking to Shaq, who's Bob's assistant. He said that a sound effects editor can be making more than $50 an hour with benefits.
Yeah.
On film and TV. So you're making and it's full-time hours, so you're making $100K plus benefits, and it's like really nice benefits.
But you might not enjoy your job.
Yeah, but it's boring compared to music. So like there's so many different opportunities to go down, but I feel like that might be missed in many schools.
Yeah. No joke. One of my old teachers basically opened my eyes to the world of vocal tuning as a full-time job, which introduced me to like other people. I started following other people. Like I think her name is Natty Turner in Miami, where she's a multi-Grammy award-winning vocal tuner. That's all she does. All she's known for. Well, I'm sure she's known for more, but as far as I'm personally aware of, like, all she does is get hired for major project vocal tunings. They just send her the session, say, tune these vocals. She sends them back, and that's the end of her job.
Yeah, that's crazy. And there's so much more, right? And that's really, again, I think that's more to because of something that's lost because of the format of schooling. It's general audience. I will say that's more lost, more in traditional music schools of music. Sometimes you're lucky, like Noah Avery, who's in the chat, said a little earlier that he got a BA in commercial music, but it was basically a jazz degree, and I could argue the same way. Only half of my degree was actually about engineering, and only half of that was actually about the type of engineering that I was interested in.
Yeah.
So it's really tough to do. Last thing, this goes directly into the next thing, which is if you do go to a non-trade school but a traditional school of music, most of the time, as part of the School of Music, and to be recognized as a school of music, there are federal requirements that the school has to hit, including like teaching theory and teaching music history. There's things that you have to. So it's gonna feel like if you do not a non-trade school like SAE. SAE is a trade school, non-trade school like what traditional university, then a lot of that is going to be based off of performance. For example, not only I wanted to be an engineer, but I had to do an emphasis on an instrument. So I could not get accepted to the school. I had to get accepted to the School of Music and get accepted to my program, which is a less than 1% acceptance rate. It's the hardest program to get into in the school ever, by not even close. And then the second hardest school to get into, which was like nursing, only had a 50%, or advertising had like a 50% acceptance rate. Yeah. So it's totally different. And because of that, they're gonna have to, because it's part of the School of Music, and I was registered as a singer, I had to take a lot of singing classes, and it sometimes felt like I was graduating and learning how to be a singer and not an engineer, and that got annoying. So
I mean, you got to become a good singer,
but specifically with singing, like
I'd like to know how to sing better.
Just sing more. I'll tell you to sing more and gig more. That's how you get better. All right.
Oof.
And so anyway, sometimes it feels like they're teaching you how to be a performer more than an engineer or a producer. So keep that in mind. Like, we were talking about how, like, in a good semester, for me, I don't know about you, but for a good semester with all my classes combined, like 14 out of minimum 12 credits to be full-time, like 14 to 16 credits, 12 to 16 credits, you'd work on maybe 12 songs or projects in a semester.
Semester being what? Quarter? 3 months?
Yeah, like 3 months. So, like, in a semester, you work maybe on 12, like 12, 10 to 15 songs max.
Yeah.
And think about that. Like, me working on 12 to 15 songs, that is less than a month. Yeah. That is potentially 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that you're not going to get the proper amount of experience with schooling, too. The common complaint that I heard in my school, and I don't think this is in any set. By the way, I went to BYU, which is in Utah, and is actually rated the #1 most value for price for education for music.
Bang for your buck.
So bang for your buck. Music degrees, BYU is #1 in the entire country, according to a few different places. I think Forbes was actually one of them. They did a study.
Nice.
#1 value for education in music. Anyway, it was really interesting. So this is sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about school. Oh yeah, the #1 complaint, and I don't think this is on BYU or like on this university. I think it's just a general thing. Like every student was like, I wish I had more time to actually work on music. And that was the biggest thing. It's like when you're going to school, it sometimes may not feel like you're actually getting the time to work on music.
Actually, that's actually a pretty big deal. I don't know if this is still a major issue. I'd imagine so, with the increasing count of student bodies in most schools, as like some schools shut down, and because of that, other schools expanded and increased their student body size. But they didn't increase the number of studios. So part of it is actual practical experience working on whatever system you're learning to work on. If you want to learn on a console, you can learn on a console, whatever. The reality is, I think even our interns that have been with us for a month that actually utilize the resources that we provide for them probably have more hours in the studio than a complete semester student at any school, because lab hours are usually pretty sparse and rarely available for longer sessions. I was talking to a friend of mine who said at the school that he went to here in Hollywood, huge school, they offer a master's in music technology. They gave people a maximum bookability in advance of 2 hours, and if there was time before or after available the day of, you could take that time. Because there were so many students in the actual school program, that they could only allocate a maximum of 2 hours per day, 2 sessions per week.
Yeah, so I think that's where it's going to vary based on schools. But for me, we had no issues. In fact, I would say now I consider that a blessing. Like, we had one big studio that was actually connected to the auditorium. So, like, we would record every single, like, jazz, like, touring musician that actually played on campus or whatever. Tower of Power came through a lot.
Actually, Tower of Power is hell.
Tower of Power came through a
that's
lot
good.
at BYU. That was, like, one of the number one acts at BYU.
Yeah.
We had a lot of actually, BYU had a lot of big music acts. I'm not going to lie to you.
What Is Hip is probably the song I would want to see them play
Oh,
live.
yeah, of course.
What is hip?
Yeah, but that's a fun one. But that's a lot. And then what else? We had like a medium-sized one, and then we had a bunch of production suites, which were smaller, but had a bunch of like VIs, virtual instruments, loaded up for like composers and whatnot.
Dual computer setup?
Not just single computer setup.
Oh,
but they were
really?
like stacked, and it was great. And that was one of the things. So I think we were blessed with that. So something to consider as well. Granted, our commercial music was only about 30 to 50 students at any given time.
Okay.
So like total for like all freshmen to senior to like whatever. Next one is like we wrote down file management, but I'm gonna say like small practical meta skills.
Yeah, systemization is probably the number one
Project
thing that
management,
they don't teach.
Yeah, project management, file management.
Actually, going not to backtrack, but going back to the I guess business classes and all that, systemization, it leads into both, but like, if file management, but like, let's say setting up MailChimp. Yeah, how to collect emails on your website, how to do quotes and all that. But literally,
and that's not something that a school should teach you. That's something that you're going to have to learn on your own.
But it's something that's actually kind of good, where it's like, hey guys, like they always teach about the 10,000, they always bring up the 10,000 hours of practice, but they never talk about, like, to maximize that, let's minimize the redundancies in what we have to do to continue running a business.
So if I were to teach, by the way, I would love, if I were to teach a class at school as an adjunct professor, it would be music business. Especially for freelancers, because we talk about, okay, how are you gonna build an audience, and we got these sort of things, and I'm gonna the homework would be based on like, okay, go and start a mailing list and create an email list and show it to us.
That'd actually be dope.
Things like that, like. Anyway,
I actually learned that on the job with Westlake.
There you go. There you go. Next one is modern techniques. We kind of went over how teachers and curriculums can be out of date. So just be aware, modern techniques. That's gonna be it's just really hard for schools to teach you. That's not at the fault of the school. That's just how one of the things of the system, the faults of the system. Internships are super duper important. Trade schools are going to be way better for this though.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to be honest. I purposely chose a trade school over any university or anything that I was finding for two major reasons. One of them was price. I was financing everything myself without any financial aid or anything, so I had to be weary of any kind of cost issues that I would run into. Secondly, that also meant that I needed to get as much as I could within a certain budget before I went broke over my education and not over my career. I wasn't trying to tail that too long, but trade schools are really, really good if you're looking for like modern production techniques, especially if you're in a busy city. If you're in any major city, there's usually a music scene. Like Chicago has a music scene. Seattle actually has a music scene. It's not very big, but it's existent. Even Vegas has a music scene. I mean, it's entertainment. But if you're looking to get some more modern production based education, definitely a trade school, or honestly speaking, if you're not looking for a specific piece of paper, go to a private small school that is actually like recently opened by other professionals in the industry. One that I would like to shout out is Create Music Academy, which is Doug, who is one of the head engineers at Westlake Studios. Alex Flores, I believe, works with them and everything. But, these people are the same people that are like producing and recording records for like Jamie Foxx, 1500 and Nothing, and all them. It's a school run and taught by these people. 1500 and Nothing have their own music production school. Not saying that they're amazing like BYU or SAE or by those standards, but by their own standards. If you're looking for modern production, look for those guys.
Yeah.
Don't look at Pasadena City College.
So the next point is a tough one. I'm a big believer of the importance of hope. And the next one is a really, really tough one because,
Perseverance.
for example, one of Ludwig's streams, he talked about
Me.
He talked about
Yeah.
he talked about what you can do, things that I learned of how to become a big Twitch streamer. And his point number 2 was, if you want to be a big streamer, and he pulled up a slideshow, and there's one word on that slide, and it said quit, because you are statistically unlikely ever going to make it.
Good.
And I don't like that concept because it just removes all hope that you can make it. And again, with the whole Dave Pensado thing, there are so many different ways for you to make money from audio in the industry. There's so many, but the truth is, for many things, like to be paid well as a mixer, there's a proper struggle.
Yeah.
And at no point does anybody ever have it easy.
Nope.
And it's important to recognize that, like Full Sail's success rate is like job landing rate out of colleges.
It's under 1%.
It's crazy. And like
it's under 1.
Really?
Of actual jobs, because they did so back when I was researching schools, Full Sail had like 3 active lawsuits against them for that statistic that they were promoting. They were promoting that like a high percentage of theirs actually get a job, but it was like getting a job at Guitar Center that they were qualifying. So what qualifies as an actual job, they were also qualifying internships. I'm just saying, like Full Sail immediately went out the window when I saw that. Not saying that it's a bad school. It's actually a really good school. It's just, don't go off of their placing odds when choosing a school.
Yeah. So, so just real time. There are many jobs, but you might have to either pivot laterally into like film and TV when you were trying to do music, or go into games or some things. I would say go in the direction. There's so many opportunities, but it is actually really, really hard. The music industry is very, very small, much smaller than film and TV. There's very little budgets, especially at the beginning. So just be aware that it is difficult, and schools don't really teach you that. Nor do I think schools should. No. I don't think schools should teach you that you're very unlikely to get a job out of this. I wish schools did emphasize that, and the reason why I think they should emphasize business more is because it sounds like they did at your school, but at my school, they did not emphasize how important it's going to be to learn how to be an entrepreneur, because most jobs are going to be through freelance.
Yeah.
Staff engineer at a studio is going to be much more difficult than freelancing.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to freelance in order to build a resume to get onto a staff position.
Yeah.
So, like, I wish they emphasized that you're going to be an entrepreneur and a freelancer, probably.
Yeah, if you're going to pay crazy amounts of money for education, do what they're prepping you to do. If they're prepping you to be interviewed and get a job somewhere else, interview them for the job that you're paying them to do, which is educate you properly. Literally speaking, once again, the main reason I chose my school is because it was ran and taught by people who were active in the industry, which is huge. And because of that, they made a big stink of everything that really does make a difference, things that really do help you out. But not many schools are going to help you out with this. Like if you see DK teaching as an adjunct teacher, take that class, because music business is extremely important. If you want to know what the job of a manager is while you're taking classes at a school, chances are they're not going to teach you what a manager actually does, just the technical side of the job. But when you actually talk to managers in our music industry, they are looking at it from a whole different looking glass. So honestly, if you're in an education system right now, take an internship while you're in school. You might think you don't have enough time, but internships doesn't mean 20 hours a day. Like
internships are probably one of the most valuable applications in conjunction with a formal education.
Yeah. If you're going to go to school, also have an internship. Like I said, if your school doesn't offer a lot of lab hours, internship.
Even if your school, like for example, a lot of trade schools do not require an internship. Even so, you should use, and specifically use, the connections of your professors and of your school to get as good of an internship as possible. That was the one thing with most universities require internship credits in order to graduate, and people keep picking low-hanging fruit for their internship. The local studio that's not that big, that somehow is accepted by the board. No, like if you're not in LA, go get an internship in LA or in Nashville, in New York. go get shoot for the stars with the internship, because that's going to be your biggest form of practical application education during your school year. And most universities offer scholarships or funding specifically for those internships.
Yeah.
I went to Mix with the Masters in France for free for a week and got internship credit for it for free because the school paid for it. There's an experimental learning fund that the school has, and totally passed through, and I wrote a report, and it was paid for totally for free. And so those classic universities do have scholarships, so talk to your counselors and professors and get as good of an internship as possible, which leads us to our last point that we're going to get to is networking. I mean, people talk about networking, but especially if you're not in a big music city. I wish they taught us more, and they forced us even for school credits and point to do internships or to leave and go to music cities. Go to LA, go to Nashville, go to New York.
Go to NAMM.
Go to NAMM. Well, most universities will actually, the professor or somebody will go to NAMM. Make sure you go with them. Go with them. Even if it costs money, go with them.
Even if their career is in the past, doesn't mean their connections left.
Yeah. Networking. Use your professor and various other students' connections to increase your own circle, and also become friends with every other student too. I make a lot of money from my former classmates. We give each other gigs because one of them's a producer. I give him production work and he gives me mixing work. It's our film score, whatever. We hang out all the time. We talk all the time. We've given each other money. So it's network with your fellow students, but go to outside of your small town in Nebraska and go to fucking LA, Nashville, and have that be part of your curriculum or your internship or whatever way. And if you can get school to pay for it, great.
If not, go anyways.
Yeah, so that's the last thing, networking. And I think like Berkeley does a good job with this because usually there's like a tradition, from what I understand, after you graduate Berkeley, everybody kind of migrates to Nashville, to New York, Nashville, and well, they're in the East Coast, and then to LA, so they kind of migrate. Bob Horn did that as well. I've heard a lot of Berkeley cats do that. They all kind of migrate to LA. Yeah,
it's the Berkeley exit method.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think that's the final point of the episode of the podcast. Any other kind of thoughts that you had as we kind of went over?
Honestly, everybody knows this. I'm a big backer of traditional education, but it's, at the end of the day, very case by case. Everybody learns a different way and actually has a different need as far as their education style. I'm a very hands-on person, so I chose my school based on what was going to work best for the way I learn and not for the way that the school intends me to learn. The reason being is, dude, I have ADHD. You know how bad it is. And you see how active, like, physically I am with, like, hey, if I can improve something, I'm going to do it. But not every school teaches the same way, so everybody's case is going to be very different. Everybody's experience in the education system is going to be very different, but there's one constant, which is there's no replacement for actual real world experience. It's really not going to be something you learn in school. And if you're ever looking for ways to improve your education, YouTube University is another great one, but it's still not experience. Just go out, get an internship, whether you're in a traditional school, a trade school, whether you're not in the school, go get an internship. You wouldn't believe how fast some of our interns have progressed. Like, we've got interns that, came in, didn't, actually Henry is a great example of this. He came in not knowing Pro Tools at all, and now he's the head producer for a production label in North Hollywood, which is really cool. Like, he wasn't very confident at first with it, and now he's like taking on sessions. He's boasting about, like, he's like, dude, a year ago, like, I could not walk into a room with people that I didn't know and lead a session. That's not something that's going to happen right at graduation from a traditional school. It's only something that you can learn from being around sessions, seeing how they move. They're not going to teach you how to do, I guess you could say, difficult situation kind of troubleshooting or moving through a difficult situation. Not always is the client going to be super pleasant, or is there going to be the computer that works perfectly through the whole session, and now suddenly, something happens and you don't know how to react. You don't know how to communicate. Hey, let me fix this real quick. Real world experience is the number one teacher.
Absolutely. I also learned this episode that trade schools is probably, if you don't care for a degree, which is important to think about. Yeah. Because some people, like, you do want a degree.
Yeah. If you want a technical job in the later life, get a degree.
Yeah, and it's good to be safe with a degree. Because I know a lot of people that graduated in commercial music and then went on to be something totally different.
Yeah.
They actually went on to be a nurse or a doctor.
Or they got a government job.
Yeah, there you go. So like things of that. So it's okay because you can always fall back on your degree to actually get. I mean, if you have a degree, you never have to get a minimum job ever again if something happens, right? Which is a great thing. But if you are looking and if you're really, really committed to the idea of just being an engineer and you really want to be taught specific real world, most modern applications ever, it sounds like trade school is it for many, many people. So recognize that there's a couple different options. I always just assumed that, oh man, I didn't realize yours was a trade school until now. I knew that our schooling was very different, but I didn't realize that. So I did like a 5-year thing. He did like a 2-year thing, and his was more focused and probably learned more about audio engineering than I did in 5 years. And more than double the amount of time. Lou probably learned more specifically about engineering than I did, which is interesting.
It was, like I said, I spent a lot of time choosing my school.
Yeah, so do that. And the main difference is, I think, is a trade school versus a university.
With that said, do I recommend SAE? No.
So look into trade schools, not whatever is around you, and availability and what's closest to you is actual good reasons to pick one. So don't. And then also shoot big, dude. Shoot big. I don't know if it's worth going into debt for some schools, but yeah, it's a good idea to interview and talk to not just the school and the professors, but also alumni.
Yeah.
Ask people who went to there. So for me, luckily, I went out totally debt free, and it was great. So
yeah, I heard about the school, about somebody who was going to the school, and I asked him, like, honestly speaking, like, how did you feel about choosing the school? And his exact words were, I don't like the curriculum as much as I like the teachers, which was a huge note to know. So like, ask the students, like, what do you like? What do you not like?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Is it worth going to school? I think for me in my situation, I got out debt free. If you can go to school for free or very, very cheap and debt free and you are young, fucking do it. Is it worth going into major debt for?
No.
Like $100,000 into debt for?
Oh, no. Well. Once again, depends on your focus.
It
depends on your focus. You want to be the guy that designs consoles for a living? I kid you not. There's a lot of money in live sound consoles.
We talked there's a special episode that may have already come out, or no, it will come out in the future after this podcast comes out.
Mm-hmm.
We did an episode with True Peak Hour.
Yeah.
And Crystal did graduate school in New York.
Yeah.
And she said that undergrad is not worth it. Graduate school for audio is fucking worth it.
Yeah.
So something to consider as well. Maybe we should have her back on the show and talk specifically about that, because that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This episode is sponsored and brought to you by our exclusive episodes. If you like the Mix of Music podcast and want to hear 3 times the amount of episodes, go to mixofmusicpodcast.com/exclusive for $4 a month or $40 a year. You can get 2 more episodes every single week that are 100% technical skill based. It's really, really great. It's less than the cost of 1 coffee per month. And it's so much more education. We have so many people on the list right now that I'm probably going to shout out next episode. But it's really, really great. We really appreciate anybody that does that. Also, what else? Subscribe to me on YouTube. Go watch Lou mix and do things live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Master by Lou. Come to my mix feedback Friday, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. PST. Twitch.tv/DK Mixes. We do a lot of different stuff. Just go to mixingmusicpodcast.com. You'll discover all of it. All right. So on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
To answer your question, optimistically cynical, how do you explain autoerotic asphyxiation to a 4-year-old? I have a great resource for you. It's called YouTube. I'm sure somebody else has it, but I don't think we have the answers for this one. I really don't. DK, have you ever had to do that? No, I don't think I have either. But YouTube, I'm sure somebody on YouTube has an answer. It might even come with a SpongeBob thumbnail.
All right, we're going to do major shout-outs this next episode. Also, we should do another episode, but also we should talk about...
Penis enlargement?
Yes, that's exactly.
Yes.
We should talk about... We should talk about. There's something I wanted to say. Thank you guys for covering these topics. I have to put a solo list together. I needed all that info. Yeah, dude. Have me and Lou guest and be like, let us zoom in and teach your class one day.
I'll be zoomed in on my camera while I zoom in.
I've done that actually for a couple universities and a high school, and a trade school, and like a trade high school.
Yeah. I think I told you about a year ago I did a guest lecture at USC.
Oh, that's cool. That must have been fun.
It was cool. It was a little shorty, but it was one of those like extra from class kind of things, like you show up if you want to kind of thing. It wasn't anything major. Yeah.
It's true. So that's a good idea. Also, what we need to do now is
stare into each other's eyes.
Oh, I was gonna say after the podcast, can we talk about the advertising thing after the live stream is over?
Advertising
that I brought up earlier.
Sure. Oh yes.
You understand? Okay, sweet. Let's do another episode about. I'll recolor those so they're just any other color.
Can we make it aquamarine?
All right. What do you want to do? Another topic? Or do you want to leave it at that?
Well,
that's all we need. We have a bunch of interviews that we've already done, but we can do one more. Let's do one more.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think. I was actually talking about this with somebody earlier today with because it talked about a little bit about, I guess, social expectations as a provider, like boundary setting as far as what is an appropriate boundary and what is a personal boundary. For instance, like I was talking about with Bryson, he builds computers, right? Yet he has people that just seemingly think that because he's not a brick and mortar storefront that he's aware of how this industry works, and he'll just drop what he's doing to answer the call, or make certain things happen that another regular company wouldn't. But setting expectations as far as your own personal business, like what are your operating hours, this and that, and how to communicate them.
So you want to do one about boundaries?
I don't think
we've done an episode about boundaries.
I don't think we have, but communicating boundaries more than anything.
So
because some people will, like, for instance, I've met a mixer who I asked him, like, how do you communicate like your policy to your clients? Like, I tend to just try to set up a phone call. He's like, oh, I don't. It's on my website. If
how
you
to
hire
never
me,
get burned again. How to not get screwed over.
I think we talked about that with Jeff Jackson.
A little bit, but we didn't have a podcast episode dedicated to that.
Maybe we should have him back for that too. Like, do a second episode where we talk about how he's. I'm gonna message him today. See if I can get a copy of his. Because he has a mixer contract, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he actually has a mixer contract. I'm gonna see if I can get a copy of it.
Let me see it.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna text him right now, because I think that would be like such a priceless episode.
Should we talk about any sort of like finances or like website or like things
how to accept payments?
Things of that nature.
I don't want to give advice on something that can be legally an issue.
You're right.
Scheduling options.
We've done that a bunch. With like just systems in general.
How about
something like,
is it required?
We talked about mixing emotionally.
We have. You actually made a clip about it.
Oh, that's.
You sent me a clip where I'm like mixed emotionally, not technically. I should find that clip. I should repost it. How about ways to minimize content creation?
What if super clickbaity, like best headphones?
I mean, we can do. Oh, wait a minute.
Do you have to do phone calls?
No, I don't. I do actually have to send my schedule out to somebody. So I've actually found myself in a niche position, which is I no longer am looking for people to book me on my website as much for my recording schedule or anything. Rather, I send what's available and that's it. If
Ooh.
you don't like what's not available in that time, you can book me for another day.
By the way, I could say this off stream. Hold on, let me mute this. All right. Cool.
Yeah, but honestly, I guess how to plan your business's scheduling if going public. Like if you're trying to find more work, part of finding more work is also creating a path in which there's going to be no friction when booking or overloading yourself with work, or how to, that's more of what I went with boundaries, like how to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Okay, I like that. So boundaries, systems, scheduling.
I mean, if you wanted a clickbaity title, how not to fail.
Ooh, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Freelance. We should do an episode about freelancing and that we're actually just freelancers most of the time, and what that means and what that entails, what you should learn and study.
Even as an LLC, you're a freelancer.
Or creating multiple forms of income revenues.
Yeah.
Diversifying your income. The importance of diversifying your income. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Is that cool?
Yeah. Do you want to write down a few of them?
Let's fucking spitball it.
Okay, spitball it.
All right, let's go. Here we go.
Okay, it's not in the shot.
Recording. Test. Can you test yours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, recording. Diversifying your income. Take one. Hello and welcome back to the Mix of Music Podcast. I'm your host, DK, and with me, as always, we're going to use your classic, your favorite nickname, Lu, wielder of swords, lord of the boards. Hello, Lu!
I will go swing my sword later.
What's your middle name?
Enrique.
Luis Enrique Moreno! I really did not roll any of those R's, which made that feel
Luis
really
Enrique Moreno.
It really rolled them for me. Really, exactly.
Luis Enrique Moreno.
Funny story. Literally, I was in Little Tokyo.
Wait.
And I was in Little Tokyo. We went to the parking garage.
Uh-huh.
It was late at night, and the dude that took the card to pay for the parking as we came out, he looked at me, and I don't know if it was because of the way I looked or because he himself was Hispanic or whatever, but he said, as I left, he said gracias, but he didn't say just gracias. He said gracias. And it wasn't just that. He said, are you leaving? And really rolled, I don't know. There's a couple things that he said that was beyond that he just really rolled it out. And my wife and I looked at each other like, what is that? A speech impediment? Why was that? Why did he roll his R's really unnecessarily long? It was just really weird.
I think you have the opposite effect that I have. So you're not Mexican, but you do look Mexican. I am Mexican, and I don't look Mexican. So anytime I worked in a Latin neighborhood, most people would actually go to Spanish to kind of hide what they were saying. And my favorite thing to respond in Spanish was like, I speak Spanish, right?
So
my confusion was just we're in a Latin neighborhood. You expected me to not speak Spanish?
That's right. So if you're listening to the show, or if you're subscribed to our exclusive content, we're sponsoring our own show for this month. Go to Mix Music Podcast /exclusive to get 3 times the amount of podcast episodes. If you're listening, gracias for listening, and appreciate you coming through. So this episode is really interesting. We're gonna go into this is an important one, something that we should emphasize more often, diversifying our income.
Yeah.
And this is very different per person. It's more of a concept that we want to teach rather than practical ways that you can diversify, with a couple ways that we've diversified ourselves, and setting expectations as you diversify. Lu,
Mm-hmm.
I know that obviously you record in studio,
Mm-hmm.
you do live sound,
Yeah.
you do studio design,
Yeah.
you make panels,
Yeah.
you do lessons,
Yeah.
you mix feedback,
Yeah.
you stream,
Yeah.
you any affiliate deals?
Yes.
You resell.
Yes.
You resell equipment.
Yeah.
You endorse equipment. You
Yep.
make YouTube contents.
Yep.
YouTube videos for companies.
Yep.
Anything else I'm missing? That's off the top of my head. That's 11. Off the top of my head.
I guess you can add system integration.
So you said designing and then contracting studios. I think those were two different things.
Yeah.
Like contracting and designing is two different things.
Yeah, and integration's another one because designing the studio and integrating the studio is two different things.
Oh yeah, like setting up studios. Is that integrating? So like whenever
Yeah,
someone calls
so
you
like
to set
if
up a
somebody
studio?
calls you and says, "Hey, we bought a studio,"
mastering and
Yep.
mixing
Yep.
and sound better and engine ears and I think let's see, anything else?
Let's see. No, we got into education. Yeah, I mean, that's to name a few.
I
sure
mean, and
there's
you've
more.
done things in the past, like you've taught classes and things that are not active, but you've done in the past.
Yeah.
So that is literally, that's 17 off the top of my head. Off the
Nice.
top of my head. Our head. For
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think as well. All right, let me do. Mixing through engineers,
Mm-hmm.
podcast, exclusive content,
Mm-hmm.
children's book, streaming, YouTube, online courses, and mastering, label sessions. Oh, that I guess that kind of goes in with recording. Freelance label sessions versus label session. I think could be separated.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say YouTube? What else? I'm trying to think. I've done. I'm currently doing nude model. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that.
Wait, I thought that was real. I think I've seen a few.
No, I have done that in the past, but I'm not doing it now.
Okay.
That I'm not kidding. That's
No.
one
I
of
know.
my first college jobs.
I
I learned that.
I think
trying
I
to
saw one of the
draw-
paintings.
Whoa. One of my I learned then that it's really difficult for artists to draw shading if you're very hairy, and I have a hairy chest, so I had to shave. Sure. Lessons, so I'd teach lessons sometimes to a few select clients. Endorsements, advertisements. Also doing event, like you do this too. We could add this to your events for different corporations and companies. Affiliate deal both for Amazon and for Plugin Boutique and various many other companies. What else? Launchpod Media, Cold House Studio, and
In the mix.
in the mix. That's for you too.
Yeah.
So we could have added that. So we're both at like 20 right now. And what else? Podcasts, and various other things. Okay, so I have at least a couple more that I can't think of, but that's the point. Okay, when you talk to somebody else that has a corporate job, that's
it.
That's it. People say that it's low risk because you have stability, but the thing is, the problem with not diversifying your portfolio and doing a lot of different things is it really stable? For example, Lou, 1 month, if you have a very bad month and nobody ever hires you for mixing or mastering, just nobody, which is not going to happen, but let's say it happens, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You're not screwed at all.
Nope.
Not at all.
Nope. Because I probably made enough on the rest of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you get fired on one stable income, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's funny because earlier you said, oh, it may be low risk, but I'm looking at the opposite way. That's actually pretty high risk. Think about the pandemic. When the pandemic swept, how many people only had one income source and it disappeared?
Oh, I forgot to add producing and songwriting on mine.
Yeah.
Okay, 20. We both have
Yeah.
about 20.
So the funny thing is, when the pandemic hit, I just switched what I was doing. If one thing wasn't making enough, the funny thing is, I was already making money at the other things. I could make more money at those other things.
I want to be very clear, though, just to set expectations. Lou and I are not wealthy. In fact,
No.
well, Lou is more wealthy than I am. I'm gonna say that out loud. But I mean, just for me, because I rarely ever talk about finances, but most of those 20 things maybe bring in a couple dozen dollars, like $30 to $50 to maybe a couple $100. For example, my kids' book, it's a lot if I bring in $100 a month. That's a lot. It's a very slow thing. I mostly just give them away. And I get money from the streams that I have because, that's another thing. So I have like 20% of mechanical royalties for at least 300 plus songs. So I get money from streams as well, and things of that nature. So like various different things. Anyway, those like from my DistroKid, even with that, like if I make $50 in a month, that's a lot from streaming. If I make about $50 a month from streaming, not that much. YouTube, I make about $30 to $50 a month, not that much. Online courses, I make about $40 to $70 a month, depending. And so it's like there's these. Most of them do not make that much, and I could push for them. But the point is that they're making something, and more importantly, most of them are incredibly passive. As for you, most of those things, like you're not on SoundBetter scouring to get jobs. In fact, you're like low-key, you're like low-key hoping that you don't get jobs on that.
Some days it's like that. Like I woke up to 2 jobs the other day. One for mixing a full record and the other one for mastering an EP. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a nice passive chunk of change that it's not very passive once you get to the actual work itself, but it's passive as far as I didn't have to actively make Craigslist ads or Instagram posts or anything. Like I tried to minimize how much work goes into each one of them so that I can focus on generating more income with the other various ones.
Okay, so there's a reason I'm going to bring this up. So the reason why we're bringing this up is not to flex on you the thing. And if
anything,
like
there's other people that can flex harder saying that they do one thing and they do make a lot of money on that one thing.
Yeah, so or they make way more money doing twice as many things as we do.
Yeah, and they don't have to lift a finger.
And so it's not about flexing or trying to the point that we're trying to prove is that a lot of careers in the audio industry, especially within music, film and TV, it's more job space, but within music and music alone, a lot of it is freelancing.
Yeah.
And when you freelance, you have to diversify your income. If you want to go full-time in music, it's not by maxing out your potential income of mixing. You have to offer other things as well.
Yeah.
They don't have to relate to each other. Like I've started businesses that have nothing to do with music. And some of them are doing really, really well. So it's this thing where you have to do it. It's inevitable, and it's the secret to going full time in music is not doing one thing, making a lot of money from one thing. It's by making some money across multiple things. That's also the safer way of doing it.
You ever heard about the graduation of engineers?
Mm-mm.
The idea is that you graduate through different stages. The recording engineer eventually does not have enough time to sit in the same chair for hours on end for various different people. There's not enough time in the day to be able to do it. So then they switch into more mixing, which allows them more flexibility in their time and how they manage their sleep schedule. But then there's so much mixing that needs to be done, they can't take on full projects. So they start saying, hey, let me give it to you another person to mix and I'll master it. Then they graduate to mastering engineer because they can scale more, take on more projects, and spend less time doing it. And then eventually the mastering engineer makes a plugin or a piece of gear and quits. It's kind of a funny story, but the idea is that the busier you get in one thing, also you need to remember that it's not very scalable at every position in our industry.
Yeah, so the point of that is not that that's what should happen or that's the traditional path, but more like
Make a
that's
plugin
a pretty
if you can.
that's a pretty common thought process.
Yeah.
So like right now, we're developing a plugin right now, and a couple, actually like 2 or 3 right now. We're looking for a graphic designer. If you're interested in graphic designing, helping us do graphic design and 3D modeling for these plugins, please DM me, let me know. I'm interested. But anyway, the point is you got to diversify and you got to grow. I do not want anybody to expect, and it's okay if you don't make that much money. And at the end of the day, that's the point. I mean, this podcast, that's kind of it. Like for this episode, it stopped recording. I'm gonna have to download it from YouTube. Sorry. What do I want to say? But the point of this episode is pretty simple. The importance of diversifying your income in order to make more, but as well as be more safe. Lou, is your income from month to month throughout the year consistent?
Consistent enough to say that some months are better than others. And there are some months where I may be a little more worried than others, but there's not a month in the year where I have to wonder if I'll make money. It's just more of a question of, cool, Let me see what's coming in and where is it coming in from. Because let's say that I wanted to take a break from mixing. Let's say that I've felt a little burnout, creatively speaking, in the audio realm. I could just make a few more ads for building acoustic panels. I actually find woodworking very therapeutic personally, and put a little more time into that. This past month, I actually took a total of 40 units worth of orders on acoustic panels.
Yeah. So this is really great. So and 40 units of acoustic panels is a great addition to your income.
Yeah.
And that, I assume that's enough for it to become one of the major.
I definitely made more money off of acoustic panels this month than I did off of mastering. Because consider that mastering isn't the highest cost, right? But you can master an album, and that client may not release another album until next year.
That's true.
You might do like a single here and there, but a single won't pay my car note.
So let's talk about this. How do you find things to diversify into? I think the first step into this, and this is what I always recommend to students or anything of that nature, is to diversify into what interests you. For example, if you're really into art, making art, maybe at first you diversify and start making album art for your friends for free, or maybe doing just making art and selling them on eBay for really cheap or whatever. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be related to music. But the point is, do things. Just try things out and figure out if you can monetize them. It doesn't take very long. It takes a long time to monetize things to become extremely profitable. It takes a lot of effort and some time. But in order to figure out if you can monetize and get a little bit of monetization going, it doesn't take that long.
No.
So figure out what you can and just do what you want. If you've been watching YouTube videos and you really like how people make rugs from scratch,
make a rug.
Make a rug. Make a rug and try to sell it, see what happens.
If you're like me, if you do like gear and are just curious about trying out different pieces, if you have a little bit in your savings that you're willing to gamble with, try to find a really good deal on a piece you're interested in, even if you don't want to keep it, and then just resell it for a few more bucks after you're done playing with it. The funny thing is, I got into gear flipping out of curiosity, but gear flipping at one point, I was showing this to one of my old assistants. It was a side hustle of mine that generated $60,000 in profits in 1 year. That's a full-time job's worth of profits off of something I was doing part-time. But it's because I knew enough about gear, and I really like gear, and I knew these 1176s are actually worth a lot more than this guy's asking for. And it just got listed like a minute ago. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull trigger, and I'm gonna play with it until I'm bored of it, and then sell it off for a profit.
So, and that's the thing too, is some of these things that you diversify into can actually
come from the same skill set.
Came from the same skill set, or be in conjunction to something else. For example, you already do music, so that works well.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are totally unrelated that I want to do. For example, I really like woodworking. I want to make cutting boards.
Ooh, I actually have a friend I can connect you with. That's all he does.
That's not. That was just an example. I'm not really interested in making flat pieces of wood at this moment.
Dude, they look really nice though.
Yeah, I know they do. I'm not belittling it at this moment. But that's true though. So you chase what you like, and some things, for example, if you are good at videography or photography, you can become a videographer freelance part-time and cinematographer part-time or whatever. Or you could try to stack it and offer that as an extra thing on top of your mixing. I'm going to mix this for you. Do you want to make a music video with me? I'll give you a discount.
Yeah.
So there's ways that you can stack things. So it's or maybe hey, I can do photography for free. So if you hire me to mix, I'll take pictures of your next show for free.
Can we talk about the potential danger there?
No, but I'm saying you can how do you say lever?
No, you can leverage packages.
Leverage, there you go. You can leverage different things. Yeah.
But I'd say it like this: the only danger I see in going too close to home is being known as, though it's not a bad thing, jack of all trades, king of none, but still master better than one, right?
Jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah. So here's the only issue I'd see in it is if, for instance, sometimes the people that I work with in really high places know me more as their guy that designed the studio, and because of that, if there's ever an issue, I'm still top of mind. I'm still somebody that's actually well known enough to be able to get invited to places and get into a room most people can't early in their career. But the danger here is that when they hire me for other things, they think I'm charging less because that's not my main income, according to them. For instance, one example I can give is I designed Nick Cannon's recording studios up in Burbank, right? And because of that, anytime any issue comes up, they know that I'm willing to help. I can help them out. I have a fee, whatever. They'll take care of it, whatever. But when it came to like recording sessions, they're like, oh, but I thought like since you mainly do this, you might charge us less. I was like, nope. Actually, you got it backwards. I do this on the side and do this, you know. Sometimes staying in the same field can complicate what you're doing in that field. Sometimes, not all the time.
And that's a play on ear type, play by ear kind of a situation.
Exactly. So like if you wanted to diversify within the same industry, that's totally fine. Just try to find a way to manageably separate yourself, whether it be doing like a DBA. So acoustic panels, I might call it Lumo Acoustics, Lumo, first two letters of my first and last name, and just call it Lumo Acoustics. And they're buying from Lumo Acoustics. They're not buying from Lou, the mastering engineer. They're buying from Lumo. Sometimes separation helps, but that same combination of they know me as their go-to guy for that put me in rooms that most people can't get into. They put me in a situation that most people don't have access to. Like the reason I met Tizio is for, doing the integration for Chris Brown's studio at his house. And because of that, at least once a year, I go visit Chris Brown. Like that's not something everybody can do or say, but it's also a very different thing. I'm not going there to mix his music or record his music. I'm the studio tech. I'm the guy that's in charge of making sure everything works right. But because of that, I was able to build a good relationship with Tizio. There's opportunities in branching out. Sometimes you can put yourself in a place that you wouldn't have gotten access to in whatever way you might have before.
Other things that you can do that's pretty traditional for, especially I see it a lot out here, and I've been seeing it more the older I get, is a lot of people's side hustle is day trading.
Yeah.
Which I think to be an official day trader, you have to be trading more than $25,000 in a single day. But like doing stocks and being part of the stock market and looking into that, I know a lot of people that make a really, really good side income from that. So things of that's just not something that I'm interested in yet. Lou has done like Bitcoin type stuff.
I've made a pretty good profit on that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and things of that nature. So there's so many things outside of music as you can do as well. And just like Lou said, sometimes it's in conjunction. You leverage it, but sometimes it hurts you. It doesn't matter. Just try doing things that you like. Now, if you are a listener that has a day job and you're looking to do music full time, then you better start diversifying right now. If you're doing music, if you already have a day job and you're doing music for fun, I would say you should start charging anyway. Even if you don't diversify, you should start charging anyway.
Yeah.
Just in case you get laid off or something bad does happen that's out of your control, which I wish never happens to you. But as well as it'll help your clients take you more seriously. Like don't do it for, even if you don't have to do it for the income, do it for the branding.
Yeah.
And so I think that is important.
I think that actually that's probably the number one reason you should actually create these side hustles, because one benefit that you have is you don't have to take every job. I don't think anybody's really bringing that up that much when they talk about side hustles, which is like, you know what? I don't have to take every gig, which actually helps me build a much stronger brand, saying that I only work with clientele that fit my boundary space or fit where I'm trying to head. I'm not strictly trying to make money off of one thing, and because of that, I have to do jobs that are just burning me out.
Amen.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think that's it for this episode. Is there any other thoughts that we want to add at the end of this?
Don't overthink your side hustle. Sometimes you can make a side hustle that maybe books you once a month, once every 2 months, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I got into acoustic panel building because my uncle taught me woodworking as a kid, and I needed to build panels for my own studio, and I did such a good job. I'm like, holy shit. So I sent pictures to a friend, and he's like, hey, can you build me some for myself? Sure, if you're willing to pay materials. That's how it all started at first, and then later on, yeah, it built from there. But it was literally just a fuck it situation.
Caveat: if you do something that someone's willing to pay for, make sure you charge enough. What's very dumb is from the beginning you charge barely enough that's less than minimum wage for yourself. That's silly.
Yeah.
Make sure that you charge enough for whatever work you put in. So if you have to do something that's physical labor, like you have to be doing, like making panels, you charge enough from the beginning that you make enough money. But if you do something passive, if you do something passive, like with my online courses, I don't have to charge that much because I don't ever have to do it again.
Yeah.
So like, just consider that. Just don't undercharge for this sort of stuff. So the two main things. Oh, go ahead.
I think I told you. I'm actually. I already started recording video for some courses.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, like that's something that DK opened my eyes to. This. If it's a YouTube video that you want to upload online, you don't know if it's gonna have 10,000 views for an hour worth of your time.
Damn. Yeah, no, for sure. Another thing too is again, just to reemphasize, the two things that should be a reason why you chase another form of diversity, how to diversify your income is one, passion, or just like you want to try something and experiment with it, go for it. Another thing is opportunities. If someone says that they're willing to pay you for something that you typically don't charge for, that's an opportunity that you should go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you don't know how far it'll take you. I maybe recently re-picked up building panels. I hadn't done it in like a year, and then once people saw it, they're like, yo, I need some, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it for super cheap for everybody. It's time to pick it up.
Amen. Yeah, that's true. So on that note, again, this episode is sponsored by the exclusive episodes of the Mixing Music Podcast. Go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive. These episodes are amazing. We spend a lot of time making them absolutely awesome and very content technical focus for you. So go check those out. Once again, that's mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive for 3 times the amount of episodes. All right. So on that note, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple, or whatever you're listening on. That really does free ways of helping support us and our channel. And on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Boom.
All right. I gotta, it wasn't recording that episode. That's silly. So I gotta re-download that episode.
Wait, in Pro Tools as well?
No, the Pro Tools it was recording.
Okay.
What was that one?
What DAW do you use? To be honest, I use GarageBand.
You what?
GarageBand. You don't use GarageBand?
I made my first paid job off of GarageBand.
I'm not gonna lie, I did mine off of Audacity.
Really?
Yeah, because I had a little PC, so GarageBand wasn't available. But
my first paid gig was off of GarageBand.
Yeah, on mine, it was really funny because like it was around the time that I first started getting into it, and one of our friends that plays guitar, he wanted me to help him record his album, and I was like, okay. He's like, I could pay you like $10 an hour, and at the time minimum wage was like $7.50, and I was like, okay. You know, literally pulled up with my 2 gigs of RAM laptop with my wasabi.
Spam musubi for anybody that knows.
Oh my god, I called it wasabi, didn't I? Yeah, that's definitely not it. No, but yeah, I pulled up with my Tascam US100 USB 1.0 interface and an SM57. That was it. And I was like, cool. I made money recording somebody else's guitars. That's awesome.
All right, dude. I'm starting to get wiped. What I need to do is
Eat.
Drink. Lunch. You know what I ate for lunch? I ate just Spam. Like just Spam. I love Spam, but that was too much.
I'm kind of curious as to Spam on its own.
It's just salty.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be eaten on its own.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be eaten on its own.
You had that interface? Nice. Tascam Bros.
Dude, I had my first interface was the PreSonus the 8
The FirePod?
Firebox.
Firebox.
Or something like that. It was like it had 8 mic input.
Firewire or USB?
Firewire.
Silver metallic body or plastic body?
Metallic light blue body. Wait, silver bottle, light blue faceplate.
I think I know what you're talking about. That was the rounded edge one,
Cubase.
Not hard edge, round edge, right?
Yeah, it came with Cubase.
Yeah, I had the hard edge. Yeah, I had the model just before it. And you know why I bought it? The power of YouTube, people. The drummer Achilles Priester was talking about his drum setup, and me and the drummer of my band were huge fans of his drum recordings. And we found out that was his interface of choice. And he would talk about how great the preamps on it and blah, blah, were. So we went and bought one. The power of YouTube, people.
Do you know what my first microphone set was?
Wait. Was it the Samson DM7 kit? I think it was called. The multi mic for like $200-300 pack.
No, hold on one second. I'm gonna shut off the Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. My phone's gonna die. Bye-bye. Yeah, my phone's gonna die. So I'm gonna plug this in. So I got a new OtterBox case, but I don't have a case for this phone. I don't have a case for this phone, so I've like retrofitted. See how it's like doesn't even fit into this. So it's an iPhone 6 case with an iPhone 11 inside, and it doesn't fit. I've actually used like double-sided tape to kind of like get
Hold
it there
it
to
in
fit.
place.
Yeah, because the only reason why I have it is because I'm gonna drop this phone before my new case comes in the mail.
Yeah.
So it's like any little bit of insurance or like any little way that I could protect this phone before I drop it.
Just duct tape it.
I know for real. This iPhone 11 has way more battery life than like a lot more battery life than my previous iPhone, which is nice.
Wait, I have a question. Did you download all the same apps already?
No.
Then that's
a lot
why.
of them. A lot of them.
So
Not the same ones.
You know how my battery's always on the
I
brink
use
of death?
most of the same ones that I use every day, but like I'm still downloading them as I remember to need them.
So you know how my phone's always on the brink of death but never dies? I have it to where when I'm not on Wi-Fi, no other apps outside of the absolute necessary ones are actually running any data, because your phone's always running.
Refresh?
No.
What is it called?
You just go to your settings, go to cellular, and then you can see which ones are actually drawing information, and you can see which ones are drawing the most. And all of these are running even if they're not open. All of them are doing background data checks on you and everything. Did you notice how Apple had to implement the new question? Would you like to allow this app to track your usage? Part of that has to do with this. So imagine this: like if you don't need Twitch on while you're on vacation and you're trying to make sure that you're not constantly looking for a charger on vacation, turns Twitch's cellular data usage off. Because even if it's not open, it is tracking your usage of other things. Most of the apps have background checks on what you're doing. That way they can then promote other, ads. So if like, let's say like my fiance, let's say she's looking at Victoria's Secret one day on her browser and she opens up an app that has advertising on it, it's going to advertise Victoria's Secret in the app because the app is also tracking what you do on other apps. So all of this is still draining a lot of battery on your phone. So weirdly enough, I turn off anything that is not absolutely necessary, and my battery will last all day, even with heavy usage.
That's cool. I'm turning off everything that I don't need, like that I don't need cell data for.
Yeah, like YouTube Studio, you're probably on Wi-Fi when you're using that. And if you ever need it, you can always go back and turn it on for the moment you need it.
Tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that.
Yeah, like I never use Safari, so I turn off Safari.
Yeah, I just did the same thing.
But yeah, if your battery is dying, like I've had this phone now 2 years and it lasts all day still. Like the battery life never changed. It's how much data usage is actually running in the background when you're not even using your phone.
Oh,
anyways.
Wi-Fi assist. I just turned that off too.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, this phone just has way more. I think that also
it's a fresh battery.
It's
too.
a fresh battery,
Yeah.
and on top of that, it's a bigger battery than the iPhone 10. So
Yeah.
I went to iPhone 11. I'm moving from iPhone 10. So it's a much bigger battery and rated for more hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I remember when I went to Europe, back when I proposed to Anna, we were in Europe for 10 days, and I couldn't figure out how my phone died in the time of the
I do have
plane
LinkedIn.
flight.
I do have LinkedIn. You can look me up.
Oh, actually,
I'll accept
I
you,
don't.
Noah.
I don't. I should make mine. But I remember my phone died twice while on the flight. The flight was 10 hours, and obviously I was on my phone a lot, but I couldn't believe it. And then somebody told me about that trick because I was messaging them while on the flight. I did it, and my phone went from dying twice on the flight to it stayed at 20 to 15% for 4 hours with heavy usage.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, why didn't I know this before? Why don't they ever promote, like, you want to save battery? Do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's it for the live stream. I got to do some editing now and uploading. I might play games later tonight. I've been streaming games a lot of nights.
I noticed.
I've been recording as well, so I can edit them. And I'm building a new YouTube channel.
Nice.
beyond music. So we're gonna do like games and me reacting to stuff and whatnot. It's actually pretty entertaining.
Wait, so like
I'm
the
going
channel
as-
is called
I'm going
Beyond
as-
Music?
Yeah, so I'm
Nice.
going as a DK or DK official. Oftentimes my alias will be Daddy D.
You won't catch me calling you that, but I will acknowledge it.
Daddy D, let's go. Yeah, that's that's gonna be like a nickname.
Or obscure Asian's favorite joke.
No. The frog one, right?
No.
That's his favorite. Just kidding.
No.
Hey, thank you so much for listening.
The moose.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks so much for following, subscribing, any of that jazz. We're gonna let you go. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay. Oh crap! Hold on, wait a second. Hold on, wait a second. That was premature. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.